I've always found dealing with Michele to be fantastic.
He's a consummate professional. Michel is extremely numerate. He is very business savvy. He's got a great commercial mind, and he could probably run any business in South Africa.
He was remarkable. He could actually remember the turnover of July 2002, and he could quote those numbers, and it was just remarkable.
He's one of the few people who, in an industry where you've got often contestation of stakeholders and various parties who may be having diverse perspectives on matters, I think Michel has got that capacity to bring people together.
Michele, I think, always was a peacemaker, a person who wanted to try and find the right solutions, try and look for the best for the horse racing industry, which was always something very appreciated.
What a lot of people don't see, you'll only see it if you have spent a long time with Michel, is his passion for people, his deep respect for humanity.
Michele was always trying to find a solution. He was always trying to find a solution where nobody, bled to death, and that was certainly to his credit.
He was a man of incredible vision, had big ideas. He was a very popular leader. He motivated his team really well.
I can tell you, all the staff here that I've ever spoken to have loved Michel Nairac. He was always there for everybody, always there to deal with everybody's complaints, and in racing we know how people can complain.
For me, in addition to all of Michel's achievements over the 5 decades in South Africa, the last 2 to 3 years will underpin the legacy that Michel would be remembered for.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to sit down with Michel Nairac and talk about his career that he's had in the racing industry going back decades. Michel, thanks very much for joining me.
My pleasure, Paul.
Yeah, wonderful to get a chat and have a laugh about how things went.
We've done a few of those over the years. I remember the Winning Ways interviews and all this. I've still got a record of everyone.
Yeah.
I've left them behind in case somebody wants to listen to them.
Those are the days, but let's talk about you, your early days. You're born and bred Mauritian, lived out over there, and you rode horses.
Yeah, I even rode in amateur races in the Mauritius Turf Club. At the end of each season, there were 3 race meetings for amateurs, and I rode in one.
Well, those were the early days. You did your schooling, and then you...
did my schooling in Mauritius, decided I wanted to become an accountant, and instead of going to the UK, which everybody in Mauritius was doing at the time, to go and do their university studies, I came here because I had a girlfriend in Mauritius. Oh. So South Africa was closer. So I came here. I worked for a year in Coopers and Ibrand in Mauritius, the affiliate company called Dusal Jume. And then came here, joined Coopers, did my articles. Yeah.
I remember seeing photographs of you just before you left the island. You were wearing a safari suit, big mop of hair. I won't say you're dashing because we want to try and make this factual. but you came over and you said, let me get rolling. So now you're doing your degrees, and you've met up with people who went on to influence your life in racing.
Absolutely.
And if I can mention a few, that Johnny Ray, of course Robert Maurice, and of course the main one I think would be Robert Maingard.
Robert Maingard, definitely. Robert was like the godfather of the Mauritian community in Durban, so you always went to him for advice, and which I did a few times in my life. We became friends, and he used to race all his horses with Johnny Ray in those days. So him and Johnny would pick me up, take me to the races, and that's where I got to enjoy the game here.
Wonderful people, they really were. And then you're also a bit of a crooner, you're the Jacques Brel from Durban North. You had a band and...
Yeah, when I arrived in South Africa to earn a bit of extra money, I joined a band. Myself and another Mauritian friend, Mark Hardy, played the guitar. Hardy, yeah.
Any relation to Tijon?
Probably.
Yeah.
All the Hardy family from Mauritius. Yeah. We joined the Jones brothers in a band called Brewgrass, played in 21st birthdays and just to earn a bit of extra money. And then to get more money, I started doing books for Robert Maurice in his restaurants. He had steers in those days.
That's right.
The Le Creole in Smith Street, and then he opened in BP Centre, the Centre, and I did his books at night. Enjoyed the restaurant trade, and when Robert went on holiday a couple of years, he asked me to be the manager, got the taste for it, and then bought my own. When I finished my articles in '79, I bought my own restaurant in Umdloti, Cecile's Kitchen. And
how did racing infiltrate this lovely lifestyle you had then?
yeah, I mean, after Cecile's Kitchen didn't work very well for me. I think I was too young. Then I came to run Jonathan Lipinski's restaurant La Goulue here on the beachfront. And at that time, Mauritius Turf Club opened doors for people individually to buy horses. So my cousin phoned me and he said, listen, we can buy our own horses. I know you go racing all the time with Robert Mangard and Johnny Ray. Please find me some horses. So I studied a little bit, picked a few horses. Now, I didn't know how to buy horses. I wasn't involved at all in that game. But there was a customer in the restaurant that was coming off, and it was Andy Williams. So I asked Andy, please, can you buy those? I gave him a list of horses. He bought 3. One of them became an absolute champion in Mauritius. And the next year they came back for more. So Andy said to me, come and join me, because there's a market that's opening here. So I joined Andy.
Was that part-time?
No, it was full-time. I left the restaurant, joined Andy for a year, and then started my own business in '87.
In '87,
Michel Nairac bloodstock, yeah.
the year you got married.
That's the year I got married.
The year you got married,
Yeah.
'87.
Yeah.
So then you had people like Ricky Maingard, who was a client.
Yes, Ricky was a school friend of my brother. I mean, they grew up with my elder brother, Henri, and so I knew Ricky very well. A very good hockey player, Ricky.
Hockey player?
Yeah, my brother and him played for Mauritius. Ricky ended up playing in the UK for England, I think, when he did his engineering studies in the UK. So Ricky came to me and said, look, I've known you all my life, you're on my own, please, I'd like you to give my business. And that's where I learned to trade. Ricky was methodical. We used to go to every single farm in this country every year. It wasn't very lucrative, because with Ricky you couldn't make money.
No, there was no money. Good experience, though.
Very, very good experience. And then Willie Peters and Mike Miller. Mike and Ray have been friends all my life, and always bought them horses.
From those early days when you started off, can you recall any horse that went on to be something from the early days, Miller, Maingard, or anybody?
Paul, we've bought some fantastic horses, and over the years, Jungle Sands, multiple Group 1 winner, Transfix, Group 1 winner, Respectable was superb. I mean, I'll never forget that race against Roland Song in Johannesburg, when they were neck and neck. It was as if it was a match race. The field was gone, and they sort of neck and neck the whole straight, that long straight at Turffontein. Roland Song won the race. Respectable ran third in the July here. She won the Oaks in Maritzburg, won the Gold Vase a couple of times.
Top filly.
Top horses. On a personal basis, because Devin asked me that question, was Gladiatorial my first run in the July? I know Ricky and I bought Shah Star at one time, and he ran in my colours, running third in the Met, the yellow with the black cap. Yeah. But I can't remember if I had a share in the July. I don't think so. I think it's Keith. So maybe Gladiatorial was my first July runner.
Not disgraced efforts on the Hollywoodbets Durbanville, but now the big one. He picks up his big one, his race, the Champions Cup.
This is the best farewell present I could ever have.
The story about my collars is quite extraordinary, and my collars were originally green. I didn't like them, and Mrs. Oppenheimer, I mentioned that to Mrs. Oppenheimer one day. We were at Clarewood, and a few weeks later she phoned Ricky and he said, tell your Mauritian friend that I'm giving up Sir Philip's collars. I know he wants yellow and black. I'm giving them up. Go to the Jockey Club now, which I did. And I got those Sir Philip Oppenheimer's collars, all yellow with a black cap, which I loved. And she sent me a set of silk she had made in London for me, very kind of her. They happened to be the same collars of the Dumay family in Mauritius, with whom I'm very, very close.
Yes.
Francois is...
He's still involved here?
Oh, yes, very much so. And so it were the same collars. So every horse that Francois bought, I had to take a small share so that he could run in his collars. And then when I got fired in 2009, we had the horse together, and I had to give up my share of the horse because of the conflict at the time. But Francois said, look, I want those collars, I was thinking at that time going back to Mauritius, I wasn't too sure. So I swapped collars with him.
Okay.
So he got his own family collars, and I took his, which are the yellow with the black with the yellow crosses, which I still have today.
How did you get into the racing clubs at that stage? Nota, or what was your avenue?
I was quite big in the national sales.
Your photo's still on the wall there.
My photo still. It was quite funny. The first year I went on my own as Michel Nairac bloodstock. The first few days I looked around the stables and nobody was opening barns for me. I mean, I had to ask the grooms to pull the horses. It was quite funny. That night I was the biggest buyer at the select night. So the next day, everybody was rushing, wanting to open doors for me.
That's the nature of the beast.
It was the nature of the beast. I was the third biggest buyer at that sale. I think it was 1988. And through that, became a member of Nota. I was on the board of Nota. Cecil Bates was the chairman at the time. Wayne Aldridge was the vice chairman. And then came the amalgamation of the clubs in 98, I think. Because of the amalgamation of the clubs, KZ Nota had 2 seats on the board of Gold Circle. It was a huge board.
Yes.
And so Cecil and Wayne were the directors of Gold Circle from Nota. And then Wayne emigrated to Australia. I became the vice chairman of KZ Nota, so I became a board member of Gold Circle. There was a change of board in 2001, I think.
When you say change of board, Michelle, the whole board in and out?
Well, there was an election. The company had posted a big loss. There was rumblings in the membership. So there was a group of people with the KZ Nota that said, no, we need to get involved here. The elders asked Chris Saunders to stand as chairman, and he said, I'll stand as chairman, but you become part of management. Because Roy Exine had asked me for 3 or 4 months, me and Mike Meehan on the racing side, me on the betting side, on the commercial side. So I had a good idea of the operations. I had a good idea of what could be fixed quickly. And Chris liked that. I think I started with the title of COO, and Dave Finesse was managing director.
Okay.
That's when it started, and eventually
You became CEO,
I became CEO,
secretary.
and he became company secretary. Yes, yeah.
So what year did you become CEO?
2002, I think. 2002 or 2003, somewhere around there.
You've been at the helm a long time. You've
Yeah.
seen a lot of changes. Apart from you having an illness which you had to shake off, which I'm pleased you have. You and I have both been down that road. It's
Yeah.
something you've got to shake off, and it's just,
Yeah,
to me...
we're winning the battle. It's
We
two,
are.
2.5 years of fighting, but it's...
Yeah, that's good. No, that's wonderful. And as I've always said, you're looking good and I'm good looking. So we've both beaten that pothole in the road.
You heard the crowd boo?
So you had situations where you had Pillay, who had intentions of taking over Gold Circle.
Absolutely. Pomerana was intent on taking us over. We fought this for years. I mean, absolute years. The famous statements, if you don't join us, we will bury you.
Yes.
That resounded.
They never came to roost. Eh?
No, never came to roost.
Let's talk about the alignment.
When I did those 3 or 4 months for Roy Exine trying to turn the business around and helping Ken MacArthur, I picked up the one very obvious thing. Every racing operator or clubs at the time were fighting each other. Everybody wanted to race on a Saturday, the best betting day. But everybody lost the plot that if you realign your fixtures and spread them over a period of the week, you would make much more money.
You get a balance too.
You'd get more turnover. So the first thing I did was to fly up to meet Brian and Derek. There were some very logical things, very simple things to talk about. Let's keep the major revenue items in the race meetings, what we call the red meetings, separate, and fill up the rest with the black meetings. In those days, we had 432 meetings. So
What's the difference between red and black?
well, red and black were Johannesburg and KZN racing because those were the ones that attracted the most turnover.
Right.
And then obviously the Cape was third, and then P fourth, and then we had Zimbabwe and Mauritius.
Yes.
That's made up that was our bouquet of meetings. So that was the first thing. And immediately turnover shot up by 30%.
Yes.
And the one thing, for example, they had the Summer Cup in Johannesburg, and it was the last race of the day. So, I said to them, look, this is your biggest turnover a race, and you're letting everybody walk away
Yeah, before it's run.
before, afterwards. And they saw the logic of it very quickly. They were, as I say, very clever. I created national fixtures saying we need now to talk, we need to align ourselves to make it more profitable for everybody.
And was the next step national commingling?
Yeah, that was a battle because it was becoming obvious we needed to commingle. The pools separately we were running two separate pools. It was become cumbersome in terms of managing that. And it was logical that bigger pools attracted bigger punters. But they held back on that quite a lot because that was the carrot for us to actually get involved with Pummelela. Join us and we'll have commingled pools. But in the end, they saw the logic. So we started, I think, in April 2002, or maybe middle of the year, I can't quite remember, the exotics first, and then within a few months we had, but you must remember at the time, nobody was doing it. Pummelela was actually launching international commingling. They were so successful in creating this that England gave Pummelela the right to distribute their picture. There was little South Africa distributing the most coveted, the most respected racing product in the world, and we were part of that. I think that was probably a great achievement, Paul.
A wonderful achievement.
Yeah.
And another achievement has been your introducing Hollywoodbets into racing.
Yeah, that didn't go down very well, when it was. But I was lucky enough to be very friendly with Basil and Owen. We met on a monthly basis, and I talked to them. Asked them, begged them for the naming rights, which we started with a 10 million rand contract. I can't take credit for them getting in the way they got it into horse racing because that's Greg Board's doing.
You dealt with them a long time before Greg was
a long time, yeah. I mean, a long time. It was a very good, still is a very good relationship. I consider them to be good friends, and we talk very openly. Basil likes shouting at me, but that's okay. But bringing them on board has actually saved horse racing when you think about it. And as I say, most of the credit must go to Greg, but Hollywood has spent more than R1 billion fixing racing in the Western Cape and in KZN and made commitments for it to continue for 5 years. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, one of the questions people are going to ask is the future of racing, but after what you've just said, it looks like it's in very good hands.
It is in very good hands. The funding model has changed completely. We used to depend on the tote. The tote has shrunk, and we didn't catch racing operators, never caught on that bandwagon of transformation within the betting game, which bookmakers did on. That's probably one of our failures. And having them on board has secured racing, and for all the people, it's not just the 700 staff of Gold Circle, now Race Goes KwaZulu-Natal. It's all the people, the thousands, that actually make a living out of it.
We're in a business that's giving hope and opportunity, saving jobs, but none of this would have happened if Michele hadn't been a part of it. So that would be my biggest compliment for him, is that he had to swim across the tide, whatever the expression is. He had to go across the flow to make it happen. And I think he took a lot of abuse from a lot of traditionalists. Can I call them that?
Let's just have a look at the disappointments. And it's not something I want to bang the drum about.
The first one is that I was not successful in stopping that war against the bookmakers that Pummelela started. I think it was in 2018. Now I flew up on the day of the Equus Awards to be told that's what they want to do. The bookmakers must pay more. And I remember flying straight back into Dean Fonseca's office at Barker's and said, we got a big problem coming up. Tried to negotiate a way. We've spent a lot of money trying to make it easier. I thought we had a deal at the Beverly Hills. Was it the Oyster Box? We had a deal, and then suddenly that deal was not accepted by Johannesburg.
Pummelela did not treat Gold Circle fairly. The executive of Pummelela did not treat Michel Nairac fairly. And I think if there'd been a lot more support, from the board here, and also if Michele had been stronger at that time, a lot of the unfortunate consequences could have been avoided.
That's one of my great regrets, because it actually sort of accelerated the downfall of the tote revenues. We made an enemy of a group of people that was actually where coexistence with us was actually good for us. I mean, you had a betting shop, tote shop on one side of the road, a bookmaker shop on the other. You brought them both together, middle of the road, and your turnover went up by 30%. It was a good working model, which was destroyed.
The fact that Pillay failed, I think in the end, is no vindication of anything. It's for them to answer. But I think that it was a major part of the downfall of Gold Circle.
That's one of my disappointments. My second biggest disappointment, and I should still talk about it today, is we allowed the membership of the club, the influential members, to stop us into buying that property up the North Coast.
Yeah.
When we sold Clarewood, the board, management, everybody was adamant. We needed to secure our own property, those 2 race courses that we have, our leaseholds, and we had found a beautiful piece of land up the north by Belito, and we were going to create our racing and training center. Instead, we were pushed back, and as a result, we ended up increasing the stables at Summerfeld and building the polytrack at Greyville. We were all set to go. There was opposition to it on the basis that there was African horse sickness in the north, and there were all sorts of reasons, but in the end it was a mistake, because we would have had our training and racing center, our own, in the north. We kept Greyville for champagne racing. There would still be a wide track. The polytrack would have been at the north. Summerfeld was going to become too much of an expensive property to hold a training center, which is happening right now with West Town and all this. To me, that's one of my big disappointments.
Another one is obviously the ownership of PGR. When you had Pillay going into business rescue, that was a turning point.
Yeah, I mean, and that is something I blame myself for. We lost their shareholding in PGI through the business rescue process of Pillay. We fought hard. We went to court. We won a very good settlement, I thought, but we lost that ownership, and that was critical. Yeah. What Brian and Derek had done is create that hub on the Isle of Man where our product could be available to punters from around the world. Then did amalgamation with the Australians, 50-50.
That's right.
So we had 50%, and the business boomed because the Australians were also running their own operation there. In terms of the agreement, the shareholders' agreement, if Pillay ever found itself in difficulty or liquidated or in business rescue, the Australians had the right to buy them out. So the Australians bought them out, and that's a big disappointment because it should have never been. Our share should have remained. I remember phoning David Attenborough at Tabcorp at the time and said, David, please let us keep our share. Our share was 39% of the 50%, basically. Right. Let us keep our share, because that was a nice source of revenue that was coming in yearly. But anyway.
Let's be positive. You got some proud moments, some highlights. Talk about those. The big race.
The big race. The July is something very special, and I take a lot of pride in it. And I've probably said that too many times over the years. But I remember going down. It was 2011 or 2012. For the presentations, we have the politicians coming to do the presentation, and turn around and see that crowd behind us on the grandstand. And I said, we're the first sport to have ever achieved Madiba's dream of a rainbow nation. That was incredibly special, and it's still true today. We were the first. Yeah, some other sports have managed to do that.
They've integrated, but
we were the first, and that to me it remains a very proud. It gets very emotional when I go down there every year. For me, it's probably the best souvenir and the most pride I feel about my
legacy.
My legacy, yeah.
Your legacy.
Apart from Nairac Corner, which they've never.
That's fantastic.
Which they've never.
I remember you and I walked it, Michele.
Yeah.
I remember it well. A lot of people don't know about Nairac Corner. While we are on it, I know it's light-hearted. We nicknamed it Nairac Corner. You made it a bit more turn, if I can use that.
Yeah, increased the size of the straight at Greyville by 40 meters. There was a piece of property next to the tote.
That's right.
Which I kept telling the course guys, come on, let's extend the track here. It'll give us more room to move.
As they go down towards the final 600, rounding the Michel Nairac corner in the Michel Nairac Appreciation Stakes, just on 500 to go.
where we'll have a rail halfway through which we'll remove, so we'll run 6 races on both because of that turn. Because
of Nairac Corner.
Because of Nairac Corner.
I wanted to also talk about how successful you were in transformation.
Yeah, very few people know that, but that's something I'm actually very proud of. You know, the 3 pillars of BEE when we started, obviously 1/3 was ownership, and we didn't have that. We didn't have shares to give away,
Yes.
like most of the big industries had, and we still managed level 2. That was a very proud moment to Paul.
Yeah.
Something I deem to be absolute success.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle, then, of course, one thing about 2014, things really got tough, and the company came under duress, and you managed to keep, to the best of your ability, afloat.
Yeah, I think if at the bottom line you analyze everything and you say, what's your best achievement? That's probably it. Since 2014, turnovers were on a big strain. We had no other sources of revenues, and to still manage to keep the company going while everything was crumbling around us. The Cape had gone bankrupt. Mpumalanga was in difficulty. And then on top of that, you hit COVID, and we were saved during COVID by Owen. Yeah. I'll never forget that call.
Great help.
Yeah, and.
COVID, a very tough time.
Yeah,
laying off staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to keep the company going, well, everything else was dying. I remember Mpumalanga going into a business rescue, phoning David Attenborough at Tapcorp and said, David, we're in trouble here because without Mpumalanga, we might die. I need your help. And and things of that nature. And then obviously Owen came to the rescue as well again. So that's probably, if you analyze all this in an environment where we should by rights have been closed, liquidated like everybody else in racing, that I managed with the team at Gold Circle to keep it going in those difficult times. That's probably, my big pat on my back myself.
Yeah. They say knowledge is power. As Shakespeare said, you're as constant as the Northern Star. You've got an open door policy. The trainers have always got on very, very well with you. You can't just get someone who's got the knowledge and let them walk away.
My commitment to Owen and Basil is that I can be called at any time, and to the whole team at Gold Circle, you can pick up the phone, you can talk to me. I'm hoping you will, because this is scary part about retirement is what do I do next? You can go to the restaurant once a week, you can go and play golf once a week when you can. But what do you do the rest of the time? That's been my big concern. But I made that commitment. I'm available. I'm at the end of the line. You can phone me at any time. We can discuss things if you want advice or if you want to know what was this or why was that like this. That open door policy will remain till the day I die. I mean, that's the way it is.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you, Paul.
First place to start with about Michel is that he's a good guy. It's quite hard to, I think, in horse racing to find people to say unkind words about Michel. I think he's a good human. And another probably exceptional or unusual trait that he's got is that he's very truthful.
He was absolutely committed to the industry and the entire ecosystem of horse racing.
He used to say, when in times, it is what it is, c'est la vie. And he would say, we shall just have to deal with it. And deal with it he did.
When he got shown the door in 2009, I think, with a couple of his colleagues, I was personally very incensed. At that time, I thought it was a huge injustice. I think the basis for it, it was just a terrible injustice.
There was a cloud hanging over Michel's head when he was dismissed from Gold Circle. I remember there was a public press release which I was very unhappy about because it was completely incorrect.
The very fact that he was invited back would be would be the vindication of how unjust it was. Nobody gets shown the door and then gets invited back a couple of years later if there's big blotches on their record.
Michel, he wouldn't take over the position again until his name was cleared.
So it was wrong.
It has been the most difficult job. His job was never CEO. And only Michel Nairac, I believe, could have pulled that off.
I'm going to miss him a lot in terms of just that having that everyday communication with him. He also receives my scoldings very, very well. He's very humble in that regard. So when I'm telling him I don't agree with something like that, he takes it on board. He is also able to push back and give his opinion and know that it'll be respected, which is quite good. And that's often the basis of a good friendship. I mean, it's probably a fundamental of a good friendship in business, where people can trust each other's opinions. And I think that has been a big thing in terms of my relationship with Michel.
He had a tough ride for his 20 years. I think he did an outstanding job. I honestly believe the way this company was structured over the years, nobody could have done a better job than Michel. I can only wish him all the very best in his retirement, and I know that the font of knowledge that Michel has, he will be called upon somewhere along the line.
We won't be wasting his intellectual capacity, his industry knowledge and all the rest, and Michel very graciously is making himself available for that. So this is not like goodbye.
Michel, you have no doubt contributed significantly to saving the industry and hundreds of jobs in KwaZulu-Natal. From the grooms, stable personnel, trainers, owners and punters, we salute you.
It is a new era, and again, his graciousness, he has been very much on board in seeing and recognizing that new era is starting and that he's handing over the reins.
In the next chapter of your life and the next phase of your life, let us still remain friends and continue our relationship.
So Michel, as a dear friend, I wish you all the very best in your retirement, and I love you dearly.
There is a lot of respect and a lot of love for Michel Nairac, and we wish him well.
In a short while, he will be leaving to go back to his native Mauritius. And Michel, while you're lying in the sun, or sitting in the sun, ardently watching international racing at every opportunity, I hope that you will understand that South Africa owes you a debt of gratitude for what you've done in racing, and go over there, heal yourself, and have a great future. Go well, my friend.